This podcast was created during the 2023 WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes. We understand that without the creative influences of these unions, we wouldn't have a show to talk about. So we encourage you to continue to contribute to the Entertainment Community Fund. You'll find the link in the show notes, and continue to support it even after the strike is over. Thank you. Morghese, the Queen of Andor, has issued the following proclamation. This podcast shall be discussing the most recent episode of Wheel of Time. If you have not seen that episode and do not wish to be spoiled, go witness the Dragon Reborn in the latest episode and then return. So it is written, so shall it be done. Hey.
Do you like to dance?
Aviendha, serious from the bleeper, taking out the creeper, no way of the leafer. Do you dance? Take up your stance, leave nothing to chance. All of those white cloaks, collectors of serious tote. Time to make the mother bleepers go. Give them a show, let's give them a show, let's give them a show. Aviendha, mother bleeping Geoto keeper. Aviendha, mother bleeping Geoto keeper. Aviendha, mother bleeping Geoto keeper. Aviendha, mother bleeping Geoto keeper.
Do you like to dance?
Will Priscilla make a decision, damn it? This is your podcast, isn't it?
No.
Welcome to Bustin' Blockbusters. My name is Matt. I wear a funny hat, and I talk in rhymes today. That's the way that this podcast is going to go. First, I'm going to apologize to our book readers who did not get a podcast last week. I had computer problems, and I had a podcast ready to go, and something in the rendering failed me, and so no podcast for Matt, but a new computer, which is fun for me. Also, just want to say thank you so much to all of you, meaning none of you, for submitting entries into our contest. I can't even buy you with $100 worth of Amazon credit. I can't buy you. Folks, go to Bust Blockbuster on the socials, find the video, tell me which 4 television series are, in fact, made from those 5 book covers. Guess what? 2 of the book covers are of the same book, so you can easily parse out. Maybe it's too difficult. I didn't.
It is too difficult.
Oh, it is.
It is too difficult.
Oh.
I tried. I couldn't get anything other than Eye of the World and Game of Thrones.
Maybe Priscilla just gave you half of the clues. So you've only got 2 more to get. If you know what book, I guess, Eye of the World came from. That's great. With that, why don't we talk about episode 5 of season 2, Damane, written by Rohit Kumar and directed by Maja Vrvilo, who I knew as a director for Star Trek Strange New Worlds, but I don't really know much of their work otherwise. Here's your synopsis. Moiraine and Rand flee for their lives. Egwene and Nynaeve encounter a new foe. I've got Bubba with me. I've got Priscilla with me, and we're going to get to our ratings right now.
The court of Morghese, Queen of Andor, is now in session.
Hail!
The Queen will now hear proclamations of ratings for this episode of Wheel of Time.
Priscilla, what did you rate Season 2, Episode 5, Damane, on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, that's the highest rating so far, 9.5 out of 10 double L's.
Double L's?
Yeah, lusty Lanfear. I mean, Lanfear, we all knew that once she would be revealed to us, that she would cause some sort of reactions. And indeed, she's doing a lot with the little clothes that she gets by the end of the episode, I must say. She's impressive. And Moiraine, she spends like half of her dialogue with Rand is about Lanfear, which is interesting. So I think Lanfear came here to stay, or at least to make an impression on people like Rand, let's say that.
Maybe people like Ishamael too, because that was an interesting conversation.
No, but come on. She was behind the face of Rand when Ishamael was getting handsy with her. So I don't know what that means. I don't know. I'm not saying anything.
Bubba, what did you rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10?
I want to be the highest, but I sadly can't, because I'm only going to give this episode 9 double LMs out of 10.
Double LMs?
Double LMs. Later, Lan. Miss you, Matt. No Lan, no problem. This was a 9 out of 10 great episode. Let me say, as a compliment, this is my version of a compliment. This was the first time that Wheel of Time as a dramatic television series felt like watching an episode of Game of Thrones, of an episodic television series. It may have made a lot of sense considering the first scene in this episode took place in the same filming location as the scene from Game of Thrones where Daenerys gave away Drogon. They filmed in the exact same place, but it felt like it. It's a large story where each character has a compelling storyline, and the audience gets a bit of time to stay with each and gets caught up in each, and there's lots of forward momentum. Lan, God bless you. You have been boring in season 2. Matt, I find you a bit charming in season 2, but your storyline to me as a non-book reader has no direction, and I don't know its purpose yet, so I didn't miss you this episode. The big twist at the end of, hey, let's have the Dragon Reborn sleep with the enemy. That was a twist I totally didn't see coming. As a non-book reader, I can see some twist coming. Like it was quite obvious that Liandrin was evil all these years, all these seasons. That was easy. Rand sleeping with the enemy, that was a twist I couldn't see. I thought it was brilliant. And then, after seeing Lanfear in her bondage outfit, I've become a dark friend. Hello, whoa. I mean, I shouldn't be so blatant, but she looked great. Great episode, very compelling. 9 out of 10 from me.
Natasha O'Keeffe is definitely unhinged as Lanfear, and I love it. I'm here for it. Now, you all know that I do soft on the ratings, that I can't rate anything below a 7. So if Priscilla's giving this a 9.5, I've got a one-upper just one little bit. I'm going to go 9.6. What I like to call double M's.
Double M's? Double M?
Yeah, double M's are moody manicures. The way that the Shan treat each other is pretty ridiculous. And the way that they treat their underlings is even more ridiculous, as we saw in this episode. But I am here for all of the wonderful stuff that we got in this episode. There were so many things for book readers. There were a whole bunch of new terms for TV onlys. Which I'm sure Bubba will be asking about as we go along. Lots of important characters. I absolutely loved it. Aviendha. Gee, can you guess, Bubba, how I feel about Aviendha?
Positively, I'm going to assume.
Yes.
You want to stay on the good
Aviendha
side.
is like she's absolutely my favorite Aiel. She's one of my favorite overall characters, period.
Wow.
And I know that not even Priscilla has gotten a chance to really get to know Aviendha, but Priscilla, you wait. You are going to love her just as much as I do. You had action all over the place in this episode. It felt faster paced. Maybe just a couple of little lags. You had great one power action happening in Falme. You had great non-one power action happening with Aviendha. But I will tell you, I would have dropped this rating at least another 1.5 if it hadn't been for the fact that we did finally get the return of Child Valda.
Yay!
Child Eamon Valda, you are my hero. I'm glad you survived the stabbings, the wolf attack. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're asking questions again. So thank you very much for that. There was no Matt and Min drinking gin or otherwise. So I took a point off, a 0.1 off of that for that. I took a 0.1 off for the PETA protests that Moiraine is likely to get for what she did to that poor horse. And then I took 2 points off for color grading. And folks, I understand. I mean, I see this all the time, especially on that hateful place called X, which used to be called Twitter. But people will say, I can't see the show. And then other people will say, well, you don't know how to change your TV settings and whatever. The fact that you should be able to watch a television show to be entertained. Let's face it, with Amazon, it is already socially, economically stacked because not everybody can afford an Amazon Prime membership every year. If it's further stacked to where you got to have TVs where you can make adjustments or what have you, or adjust your computer, what have you, I don't think that's right. I believe that television shows should make it so that a standard TV with a standard setting should be able to see it. I know you want realism. I know that that's important to people. But if I can't see Aviendha kicking butt as good as I would like to, if I can't see Lanfear resurrect herself as good as I want to, then that's really going to bother me. And I'm basically being bothered on behalf of people who are in the same situation. I'm choosing to be lazy. I could adjust things if I wanted to. I've got stuff. I'm lucky. But what about the people who can't? And still, with all of that, I could only take off 0.2. You would think that would take off 2 points, but it's just a 0.2. But I loved the episode. My rant is over.
So it is written, so shall it be done.
And folks, we know that you likely don't care what I think anyway. I hope that you care what Bubba and Priscilla think, but most importantly, we care what you think. And we didn't get much feedback this week. We didn't get any entrance into our contest, although Priscilla has now told me why. I mean, it's supposed to be hard. You think I want to give up $100 gift certificate to Amazon?
Matt, after this plea, like you talking so eloquently, like in favor of the little people, of like the workers of the world. Now you're talking about how much you're making difficult for the people that are poor and not as fortunate as you to get into this context.
All right. I have been corrected by Princess Priscilla, and so therefore we will leave it at that, and I'll figure out what to do over the next couple of weeks about that. But we do care what you think. And if you think the contest is too hard, you can tell me too. My socials are at Bus Blockbuster. And you can find the Double P Media Network on socials at Double PHQ, the word double the letters PHQ, even on Facebook, facebook.com/the word double the letters PHQ. You can email me, mattsaudioblog@gmail.com, mattsaudioblog@gmail.com, or you can email Bubba. Don't send him book spoilers. He doesn't want book spoilers. But if you got TV show stuff, or if you just want to complain about me, hello at doublepmedia.com. The word double, the letter P, the word media.com. That same spelling is for the YouTube, where you can leave comments. You can like, you can subscribe. You can do all of those wonderful things at the word double, the letter P, the word media on YouTube. And if you want to talk to Priscilla, because she's the only one who's actually sane here, Bubba and I just go back and forth from different extremes because we're used to doing that. But Priscilla actually usually talks with some sense. You can find her on YouTube at Priscilla TV1. So with that said, if you have questions, I'm betting Bubba has more. Bubba Has Questions is next.
It's a time for the game that everybody's loving because Bubba asks really good questions and Matt comes up with really stupid answers. I'm Coach T, your host. Thanks for joining us this time around. This is where we will talk about situations in the Wheel of Time that Bubba has questions about. I haven't decided yet whether this will be a competition between Matt and Priscilla yet, because I haven't seen the level or the seriousness of the questions. But Bubba, why don't you go ahead and ask the first question?
Certainly. My first question, again, as a non-book reader, getting introduced to some of these internal politics that I don't understand. Help me out. Am I wrong to agree with Suroth? Why not just kill this bum, the High Lord Turok, and get on with it? Why does she listen to him? Why does she let him cut off her stems? Didn't make any sense. Why not just kill him?
Priscilla, your answer.
Why my answer? I agree with Bubba. I want him to get killed.
Matt, do you have a counter for that? Yes, I do. Priscilla
Wow.
and Bubba, I believe that what you're looking at here is Ishamael, who's very calculating, looking at the bigger picture. Obviously, whatever has got Lady Suroth headed in to be in league with the Dark One, it has something to do with something that she needs. That is tied in to the fact that he says, well, do you want to start a civil war if this guy's killed? So I believe that the two are interlinked, and I believe that she needs to just cool out. Lady Suroth has a hard temper, a hot temper, and she doesn't think things through clearly, whereas Ishamael, cool, calculated, perhaps the best thinker in the whole show. And especially when Moiraine doesn't have her one power, because she's just running, her mind's running frazzled. Let's go here, let's go there, let's send the horses here, let's go send the horses there. No, Ishamael knows what's going on. And maybe he's lost track of Perrin, but I'm not sure that he knows that yet because he hasn't been informed, because the people under him, like Lord Turok, even though Lord Turok doesn't know that he's actually under him, he is under him. And I believe that, in fact, that Ishamael is correct. This would be a bad move for Suroth, perhaps the worst move for Suroth, if she just went ahead and killed him.
I really like your answer, Matt, but I still want him killed. I agree with Bubba.
Well, I would say that I just didn't, none of that really can come across to a non-book reader like myself. And so
you couldn't catch that in that scene, that she wanted something and that he told her, no, that'll cause a civil war.
Right. But between who? Like, she'll be in charge, right?
Well,
like,
I think he said within the Empire, did he not?
Yeah, but
do you think these are the only people that are part of this? If they have all of those facilities and everything, they're kind of a scouting party, baby.
Right, a scouting party where you kill the terrible person in charge of it. You do this is mutiny on the bounty. There's a reason why you did a mutiny. That guy was a bum. Let's kill this bum. That's how I take it.
Okay, well, Bubba, I think you've answered your own question.
Well, in other words, the show didn't give me any answer, and I hear your answer, and I guess it's talking about things it's talking and not showing, right? It's telling, not showing. So I don't know what to say there, except it just didn't work for me.
Okay.
I mean, the only use I saw for High Lord Turok in this episode was like exposition about this Junchain.
Wasn't this the first time we ever saw this guy?
I think so.
This week they said, hey, we can't kill this High Lord because it might cause a civil war amongst the Empire. I'm like, what Empire? It feels like he's the one in charge. I understand they came from over the ocean, but I don't know. I would just kill him. And this sounds crazy. I'm with
they
Suroth.
They mentioned the Empress. He mentioned the Empress and the daughter of the 9 moons, and so does Ishamael. So he's not in charge. So he would be like one step ahead of Suroth.
Okay. Cool.
No, one step above. Sorry, one step above. Yeah.
One step beyond. All right.
Beyond whatever. Yeah.
Here's my next question. And
all right.
This is one that also, maybe I'm not piecing together things from season 1 and all, but in this world, in this fantasy world of the Wheel of Time, you've got Aes Sedai, Shan-Chan, Wolf Brothers, Aeels, Trollocs, Fades, the rest. How in the world do these non-powered white cloaks pose a threat to anybody? Like, how do they fight? How did they push back the Shan-Chan out of that village that we found Perrin in this episode? Yeah. I thought this guy in season 1, he was great. Valda, he was great. He was scary. He was menacing. At that time, he was menacing our team without any powers. He was menacing Egwene and Perrin, who didn't have any powers at the time. Now, though, I've seen a lot of forces, a lot of people with power, and I'm like, you White Cloaks, how in the world can you survive? It doesn't currently make any sense to a non-book reader like me.
Matt, why don't you answer first? Okay, well, we did get some information in this episode as how the White Cloaks might have run the Shanshan out. For one thing, the Shanshan, once you take your oaths, they pretty much leave you alone. So I'm not sure that there were that many to take out anyway, right? There may have been a little bit of a contingent, but then Sarath is also further criticized by Turok in the very first scene about stretching their forces too thin by going to Autumn's Mill, or that's what's referred to there. And so I believe that the White Cloaks could have a chance against that. But against all of this other stuff, I understand your frustration there. All I can tell you is numbers and belief in themselves, baby.
There is this point in the book so far, I read 3, but you can see that there's evil in association with the Dark One, like Trollocs, Fades, whatever. And there is like evil associated with men, really, like the Shan-Chang. They are kind of against magic in a way. And the White Cloaks, they are just there to show you like the power of being a fanatic. They are basically against the Dark One technically, but they think that Aes Sedai are also in league with the Dark One, that they are also Dark Friends. So they are wrong in their beliefs, but they believe, as Matt said, and they have a whole like country full of them. So there are a lot of numbers, as Matt also said. But there is this difference, and I suspect that as the series progresses, we are going to see these two kind of evils side by side.
I think that would be fascinating, and I guess I would love to see one of these fights so I could understand how they could win without having to assume, okay, well, maybe they were stretched thin. To me, I think just a couple of those Sean Champs could probably take out all the White Cloaks. Heck, this one Aiel in this episode took out what felt like 20 White Cloaks. So those are my thoughts. I was still 9 out of 10, but both these issues, I guess, even if they said it didn't come across well, at least to me, non-book reader.
For the ruling this week is the fact that Bubba wins for asking the questions. Priscilla finishes a close second for answering the questions correctly. And Matt, you're just in your normal spot. Thanks, Coach. Let's go to my musical analysis next, folks, where I'm going to talk about my favorite Aiel's theme, which actually came out on the soundtrack a week or so ago and allowed me to pre-analyze it. And we did hear the verse section of that song in this week's episode. I am slightly behind the curve on keeping up with the musical events regarding the Wheel of Time, but Lauren Balfe has released at least a volume 1 of the season 2 official soundtrack. And this, not unlike some of his concept albums, has kind of an overview of what some of the themes that we hear this season are. A lot of them are centered around characters, and we may get some more music as the season goes on. I recently DM'd with Lauren, and he couldn't be very specific. But I wanted to take stuff from that particular soundtrack that came out, which has the singing performances and things like that. They're much more oriented as songs than they are as, orchestral themes. But we got a new character in this week's episode, Aviendha, and lo and behold, there is a theme for her in this soundtrack. So I thought I would go through that from the soundtrack perspective. And because this is such a unique theme, I think you'll be able to identify if you heard it in the episode or not. One of the first things that you find about this performance is that it is in mixed meter. Now, what is mixed meter? Mixed meter is generally the types of meters or the way that we count measures that aren't normally divisible by 2. So your 5s, your 7s, things like that are what we call mixed meter. And Aviendha's theme is, in fact, in a very fast meter called 7/8. And one thing that's neat about 7/8 or 7/4 is that it feels like you're getting gypped a beat. We're used to symmetrical kinds of beats. So we like 2s, we like 4s, we like 8s. But when you just have a 7, you feel like things are moving a little faster than they should. And that's great for generating excitement. And in this particular case, especially the fact that downbeats are still emphasized, like you feel like it's going to add up to 8, but instead it feels like you come up just a beat short. So you get counts like 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3, or like this. Adding the bass to play those stronger beats helps everything to feel strong. But you still get that sense of jumping. And this is why mixed meter is so great for kind of mission-oriented type themes. Think of the Mission Impossible theme. It is in 5/4. This one in 7/8 gives that same kind of this is important kind of feel, or this is exciting kind of feel. Now the verse portions are oriented towards a minor kind of harmony. And minor is usually darker, but there are ways to lighten that harmony up. But first, let's just look at the verse melody. The shape of it kind of goes down to what we call the 5th step of the scale each time. And the 5th step of the scale also generates some excitement, because the 5th step of the scale always makes us feel like we need to go somewhere from here. That's why ending phrases on the 5th is great for setting up a big chorus. So the verse sections sound like this. And once again, hanging on that 5th scale step makes it feel like everything needs to go somewhere else. Everything needs to get bigger, or at least feel resolved. And things do get bigger when we get to the chorus. Very exciting. It feels big. The melody is played in octaves, or rather sung in octaves, which gives everything a bigger feel as well. Plus the melodic shape, how high or how low the notes goes, is pretty dramatic. From where the melody starts, there's a point where it dips way down lower. There's parts where it jumps way up higher. And essentially, the lowest that you have is here, while the highest that you have is here. And that's a lot of room for this melody to move. But more importantly, the way that these melodies fit with certain chords, if you were playing in what we call pure minor, some of the notes don't fit. And what Lorne does harmonically is he adjusts the harmony to fit it. Not only does it just make this melody work, but it also generates different kinds of emotions. For instance, the 4 chord of any key is perhaps the most important chord. You would think that the home key, the 1 chord, would be, but the 4 chord is what adds extra little tinges of emotion, because you can have a major sounding key, but if you put in a minor 4 chord, it darkens it just a little bit. And the opposite is also the case. For instance, here we have a minor key,
but the melody specifically goes to a note that makes for the major 4 chord, and Lorne adjusts the harmony accordingly. Now, minor is usually very serious and sometimes dark, but by adding that last chord, that's a major 4 chord against the minor harmony. So it does just the opposite. It adds a little bit of hope into this otherwise more serious sound. Now note that that place where that little hope chord in all this seriousness occurs is in the lowest part of the melody. So what that means is that even when Aviendha, or the Aiel, when this character gets knocked down, it's always going to try to get back up. That's what that hope is about. And then we have this situation later on in the chorus where the melody gets to its highest point, but it's emphasizing the minor chord. What this does is it signifies that even when things are at their worst, hence that minor 4 chord, this character will strive to do their best, the highest note. So listen for that melody, for that theme in this week's episode, and that's all that I've got for music analysis.
Time to spin the tiny wheel of topics, ladies and gentlemen. We have 5 topics on the list this time around. Aviendha's arrival, that's a double A, aka the return of Child Valda as well, and the White Cloaks. Oh yeah, Perrin's there too. We have the double R, Rand runs. It's all things Rand and Moiraine. We have Teleron Riad. Say that 3 times real fast. Also, aka name dropping the Forsaken, all things Lanfear and Ishamael. Then we have Brown Aja are all lushes, aka Verin's investigation. And finally, the double F, frightening Falme, aka masks off, also nails off. But that's everything Turok, which we've already discussed a lot, Seroth, which we've already discussed a lot, and of course, a collared Egwene. Oh, God, that just drives me crazy. Give the wheel a spin. Priscilla, as usual, the wheel has eluded me as to where it actually revealed. Where did it land?
It landed on Brown Aja are all lushes, aka Verin's investigation.
We're talking about Verin. I loved Verin in this episode. I loved the way that they parsed out that there were lots of new terms in all of this as well. Things that we haven't heard before, things that you can kind of guess what they mean. Compulsion. That does not sound friendly, does it? A weave of compulsion. We can also guess who did that weave. I loved her confrontation. Not really her friendly confrontation with Liandrin at the end. I thought that was great. I love that the Brown sisters are pretty much everything I expect a librarian to be. I just recently got a master's degree in library and information science.
I have a master's degree.
That's what I want to be. Just
Congratulations.
A lush who looks up information for other people. That would be great. I loved the fact that Adelis makes a mean brew that all of the Brown Aja love. All of these things I love. Priscilla, what did you love about Verin or dislove about Verin?
I congratulated you on your being very smart and being a master. As you said, you got your master's, right?
Oh, thank you.
I wouldn't be Brown Aja. No, I think I would actually. But Verin is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters in the TV show. I'm spending some time with her in the books. She's also great there so far. And I just heard, because I know spoilers about the like how the head story will end. So I'm looking forward to see what she's going to do in the future books. But so far, she has been amazing. She saw through Moiraine. She saw through Leandrin. She's the only one so far that has been challenging Leandrin, because Leandrin, she goes around the White Tower saying what she wants anytime she wants to anybody, and she never gets challenged. And I have to give credit where credit is due. Leandrin, she got all covered. And she covered herself very well. She even brought white asparagus with her, which made me question if she went to Germany, because if you are in Germany and it's April, it's all about white asparagus. It's everywhere in the streets. It is strange and crazy, and they eat asparagus with everything. But
that's why we all come to Germany during Oktoberfest and not during April. We're like, asparagus. No, we want beer.
Yeah, anyway. So asparagus is not my thing, but it's Leandrin's, and Leandrin, she worked beautifully well in her trap. She got like all the points covered, but Verin is better than Leandrin.
Bubba, what did you think of Nancy Drew?
I loved it. I loved seeing Cho Chang from the Harry Potter films as a brown Aja. I wrote in my notes, the brown Aja are the best. Now, once again, you sometimes find out things after the fact. So this teacher, the instructor of the people training to be Aes Sedai, she lied. And I'm like, I thought you couldn't lie. And then we find out, oh, there's this weave, I guess. What is it called again? The
Compulsion.
Yeah, I love that. And so I'm like, oh, okay. And then suddenly, if this had been mentioned before, once again, it went over my head. Somebody saying Black Aja really exists. Liandrin is fascinating. Now we have somebody totally wise to her moves. This gets me excited. This gets me to, want to click next episode. I thought it was great. I thought it was obviously a small part of the episode, but really strong, really engaging.
So, Bubba, let me ask you a quick question, because
Sure.
now you know that Black Aja truly do exist. If you were to go back and look at that the very beginning of this season and see that Dark Fringe social, you'll notice that there was one Aes Sedai ring there that was colored black.
Oh.
So do you think that was Liandrin? Do you think it could possibly be someone else?
Well, to be honest, I thought it was somebody like Liandrin, even without really thinking about Black Aja. And so I would think it was Black Aja. But I also think there got to be others. There can be, there has to be a second, I would say.
I think that you are absolutely correct in that guess, because Black Aja need numbers just like regular Aja do. So that's what Nynaeve was being recruited for, as we find out in this particular episode. Basically is what she was saying is, yeah. And as we talked about in earlier episodes, Leandrin's basically understanding that if you're going to be Black Aja, you want that kind of power on your side. We'll figure out how to teach you how to use it, but we want that power. So I think that that's wonderful. I did love the fact that they have changed a little bit from the books, which I think is safe to talk about here. But this whole involvement about Liandrin with her son as being a primary reason, which Priscilla, I think you might have pointed out at some point in a conversation with me somewhere, is, giving it a real stake for Liandrin to want to change over. So I love that. Anything else about the brown Aja, though? I love, by the way, what are the names of these girls that love their liquor just as much as Verin does? Let's see. I think one of them is Yasica.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
And the other one is Naomi. So Naomi and Yasica, very likable characters. All brown Aja are pretty much likable and annoying, but that's the way that goes.
Annoying. I didn't think they were annoying.
Everybody that I love in the books also annoys me to some degree.
Okay.
So
fair enough.
They're very real. All of the characters in these books are very real, because I love Bubba, but sometimes he annoys the shit out of me.
Why? Bubba is perfect.
Thank you. Finally, somebody sees me as a pure white Aja.
But I thought white was the absence of color. I keep bringing that up.
We'll never get the answer to that one.
No. Yeah, let Matt be Matt.
That's Matt playing the hits.
I believe I heard this correctly. Your favorite character. We meet another new character, Aviendha. She has been caged up and she is uncaged and ready to go. We are in the West. Elias is leading Perrin away from his buddies, which I guess is good. Elias is like, they're not your friends. The Wolf brothers were your friends. But Perrin, he spent too much time with humans, and so he's got to go rescue his friends. Hopper follows him, and he goes to bury Uno, which I think once again shows that we as an audience should like Perrin. He's got morals, he's got this and that. But suddenly he comes upon another complication. I mentioned the White Cloaks earlier, but it's not just the White Cloaks. There's this other person, an Aiel in a cage. And because Perrin's good, just, he's not exactly non-violent anymore. He is still fighting, I guess, but he does have some time. The one thing, as a non-book reader, I watch in this section, and I think to myself, okay, do I need to know this quote-unquote good White Cloak guy who's like giving water to Aviendha? And then Perrin says, okay, you can't kill him. It's like, okay, I got to know so many characters. I believe it's Dane Borhold. Do I have to know him as the quote-unquote human face of the evil White Cloaks? But good, fascinating. Perrin's not my favorite. He's not in my top 5. But this section and this new character, pretty good.
Yeah. One of the things that I want to point out to you that I think you could have done the math if you were really thinking about it, or maybe you already have, but that name Bornhold, that is the name of someone that we met in season 1, that last name, who was also a White Cloak. You couple that with Child Valda telling him, what is it?
Yeah, but Child Valda says to him that your father's name will not save you or something. No?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't give water to Aiel, Dane. Who do you think you are? You better give water to my Aviendha. You just better. Priscilla, what did you think of Aviendha's debut? Now, I know that you're in book 3, so she's just kind of introduced in book 3, right? You haven't learned all of that much about her yet.
I thought they did it very well with she was like in 3 scenes, I think. Yeah. Like the one that she speaks to Perrin and is giving water, and then there was the second one. Perry frees her, and we had a really good fight. And the third one when they are already on the way to Falme. So in these 3 scenes, you already establish a lot about the character, where she's from, who she is as a person, what she's doing there. She also says what was she doing there, and also what her people is looking for in that area of the continent, because this has been kind of a question that has been asked since season 1. In season 1, we also saw another Aiel in a cage, but he was dead. Mm-hmm. And people were wondering, what are they doing here? Like, they should not be here. And in the second season with Aviendha, we have finally an answer. They are basically, as everybody else, they are searching for a certain someone. So in that sense, I think with these 3 scenes, we already have so many questions answered. And we have a glimpse on this character that will be very important going forward.
Absolutely. And I absolutely adore her. Bubba, I'm going to throw a whole bunch of new terms at you here.
Oh, boy.
Afar Dai Smai, which is the Aiel language, or maybe even Old Tongue, for Maiden of the Spear, basically. Okay. It's a troop.
Sure.
So the other terms that you might have, she says that she's from the Threefold Land. Now, people like Perrin and us had recently just called it the Waste. Don't call it the Waste, baby. It's the Threefold Land to the Aiel. She also said that they go there to meddle themselves, or they've lived there to meddle themselves because of the sin. That is a big mystery that gets solved much later on. So just keep that in your head. And, you got a question?
Well, not a question. I want to say what I assume. I assume looking at the map that like we focus on like from this one giant mountain range and then everything west of that to the sea. I'm going to assume that she's from the area on the other side of that mountain range, right?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay,
That is correct. And let's see, what else? Oh, because she, Perrin released her, she says she now has toe to him. And I think she even mentions Giotto by name as it goes along. That's basically the Aiel's honor system, which will also have to be much further explained over 2 or 3 books. So likely at least one season we'll get further revelations about what Giotto is. And that's stuff that maybe Priscilla and I can talk about. The fight was incredible. Aola Smart is just knocking this out of the park for me. Some of that situation to me was actually from Perrin encountering a different Aiel in the books, Gaul. You remember Gaul, Priscilla? So I hope that doesn't mean that we aren't going to get Gaul, but at the same time, they could wait until the next season to introduce him in that way. But yeah, being in the cage, white cloaks around, all of that situation is very similar to what Gaul's situation is, except for the fact that Perrin was on his way to another place, not to Falme at the time.
One thing that I really loved, it was Perrin hiding from Child Valda. I really loved that detail. Perrin was like really hiding. And Child Valda
is the savior of the human race. How could you not fear him? Especially when you're an evil wolf brother.
Asking questions. He's literally just asking questions.
You know, when you're an evil wolf brother, you better fear Child Valda.
I think Child Valda and Padan Fain would have the best night out together. They'd be like, "Oh, I did this. No, I did this." I think it'd be crazy.
Can you imagine spending a night in Tar Valon with those two? Imagine what they do. They might break into the White Tower, have a little fun, steal some of Verin's special brew.
I don't think Child Valda will ever get to Tar Valon.
What have we got here, Priscilla?
We landed on Rand runs, all things Rand and Moiraine. Your favorite character, Matt? Do you want to rant about Rand? This is your time. If you want to.
I gotta commend Rand this particular episode. He actually listened. He listened. He asked questions. He was actually a human being today, as opposed to somebody who just has an idea for his own and be damned everybody else. He was actually listening to Moiraine. Now, and even he did not approve of that horse slashing. So I'm really for Rand in this episode. He's still never, ever going to make my top 5 characters, but I'm still really for Rand in this episode.
Wow. Did you see that, Bubba?
It's incredible. It's incredible. Normally, Rand makes Matt's head explode like the one guy who had a horse. And now it's completely reversed. Black is white, white is black. This is incredible.
All it took for Moiraine to convince Rand to honeypot himself to Lanfear, so that Matt would finally approve of Rand. I don't know what this says about Matt. Is Matt for male prostitution? Is that what you're saying? I don't know. He's a liberated man.
I would say that watching this storyline, it's tense. It has a pulse, obviously, because people are being chased. As someone who was just earlier in this podcast, I was asking, how in the world can the White Cloaks compete against the people with all these powers? Here, with Moiraine not having any powers and they're on the run, whoa, you've got to use smarts. I thought it was kind of smart, but until the very end, I was like, Moiraine, why are you still at your sister's house? Run, run, run. Now, as somebody who understands how TV and story works, it's like, well, we're not just going to leave the sister in this city and forget everything that we set up here over the earlier 4 episodes. But still, I was like, run, 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 run. And then you're right, when it becomes Rand Honeypot. And oh my God, what a twist. I loved it. I didn't even mind the fact that we're suddenly meeting a nephew who's going to marry the queen or something of the city. And he's got his own kind of odd silly quirks. Like he's on a different show than we're on. We're on one where there's somebody who can pop your head or sew your lips shut chasing us. And yet here's this guy who's like on, Friends. It was ridiculous, but the whole story was great, intense, and kept you glued to the screen.
I loved how the relationship between Moiraine and her sister evolved in 2 episodes. Moiraine is finally listening to her sister and somehow adapting because Moiraine has no power, so she has to figure out as she goes right now. This is all out, like all her plans are out of the window. So I think it's very great that she's able to do that. Of course, if you have an actress like Rosamund Pike, you have to give Rosamund Pike things to do. I understand that. But this is something that I think Moiraine would do. She's nothing if not smart.
So in terms of Barthanes, I think is how you say that guy's name. Do we not all have faith in the future of Carrion if he is going to be the king?
No.
R.I.P. Carrion.
Anything else on Rand?
No, we love Rand now.
Yeah.
Rand is great.
Do we hate Moiraine for slicing the neck of a horse?
We understand Moiraine.
You got to do what you got to do. I mean, Lanfear did much worse than kill one innocent horse. Can I predict, since I don't know where the story's going, can I predict where I would assume it's going to go?
Go right ahead.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I watched too much daytime soap operas when I was hanging out with my sisters growing up. All right, so what's going to happen is Rand is going to be doing this spy stuff. It's all fine. He's going to be safe in the city until the big wedding. And then there's going to be a Moldavian massacre at the wedding. Rand's going to be there. Lanfear is going to come back and say, we're getting married too. Incredible. It's incredible. And every night he's going to enjoy some, what did they call that stuff? He's going to be in the, oh God, I can't believe I'm blanking on this. He's going to be in the,
oh my God.
What were those books? Know. All right, hold on. I'll Google and find it. But Rand is going to have a great time.
Rand is going to have a great time in Teleron Riyadh, the dream world.
Yeah. You can talk about it now. It's in the tiny wheel of topics you already mentioned. So I think you can go ahead.
So we don't want to spin the wheel. We're just going to go straight into Lanfear since we've already talked about Rand. Sure. Why not? That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a good old Lanfear and her buddy Ishamael. I love the dropping of Forsaken names and the fact that there were others. For a long time, book readers have suspected that they would drop the number of 13 Forsaken. And I don't, and given the number of seals and given the names that were dropped, I think if you have Lanfear, you have Ishamael, we have Moghedien and Grendel mentioned in their little Teleron Riyadh. So that makes 4. Now there are 2 male ones. She said the boys. And
the boys can be 2, 3.
I'm assuming that all 4 of those are going to be boys of the 4 remaining of the 8. But I think that I can name 2 of them because I've already read them in early parts of the books. Or maybe they said the boys in order to keep it specifically vague so that you wouldn't guess.
Yeah.
But I think that I have 6 of the 8. And I would like to ask book readers or TV viewers. I know that you don't know what the name Moghedien means. I love Moghedien. I know that you don't know what the name Grendel means or who they're referring to as the boys. But do you think that the listeners, is there going to be just 8 Forsaken? Because you saw 8 statues in season 1 on that one Warder's tabletop, and they mentioned them specifically.
Podcast flashback. I had a brain freeze on what Rand was going to be doing over the next several episodes every night, and I realized it was 50 Shades of Grey. I apologize for forgetting that literary triumph but that's what Rand's going to be doing. I apologize.
It's completely understandable that he forgot about
Lan-
50 Shades of Grey.
As I mentioned at the beginning, Lanfear is completely unhinged. This is the Lanfear that I love in the books, the one that just very casually doesn't care about anybody except the person that she loves and will do anything for anybody for that person. And now that we know that she's Lanfear and she keeps talking about how Rand he's so young, he's so naive, he's so gullible. And so she, at the end of the, she's willing to snap heads. I wish the color grading on that had been a little lighter so I could have seen that head explode a little better, but I understand that's an effects thing probably more so than the other. But just the flick of the wrist, the growing of the mouth over the poor horse keeper, that was awful. I mean, Lanfear was a horror movie. This was, and even the dress that she was wearing in Tel'aran'rhiod when she was talking to Ishamael. I mean, this girl was Basic Instinct in Wheel of Time times.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Way more recent reference than my 50 Shades of Grey. I want to talk about that horse keeper. She tried. She knew I just need to be quiet and just say nothing. But she said there was nothing she could do because Lanfear is hardcore. She is serious. You do not mess with her. R.I.P. that horsekeeper's speech. Speaking ever again.
Yeah,
wow.
I hope that she can write because that's the only way she's going to have to communicate from now on.
Sign language.
Oh, sign language. That's correct. There is that.
How about eating? She's going to die if she can.
Through her nose.
How is she eating through her nose?
Or it depends how tightly her lips were sewn. She could get a straw in there and
yeah. Liquid diet from now on. Diet from now on. What else about Lanfear and Ishamael? I thought that conversation was fascinating because of the mention of the Forsaken, because of the fact, Priscilla, that they don't actually none of them seem like they like each other. At least Lanfear doesn't like anybody. And Ishamael doesn't trust Lanfear by any stretch. They all seem to be gunning for that number one spot at the Dark One's side, is my guess as to why they do it. But Lanfear pretty much badmouths Mogadine and Grenadal and the rest of the boys, them boys. So what did you think what were your impressions of that whole Tel'aran'rhiod meeting?
I thought it was lovely. The way that she was sneaking on Ishamael, because she's, as Moiraine said, she's kind of a master in the world of dreams. That's something that Lanfear does well. And I didn't get the feeling that Ishamael was angry at her for sneaking on him. Actually, he looked very pleased that she was there. They were having a conversation, civilized conversation, and then it started to go downhill from there at some point, which was hilarious. And you could see Lanfear kind of rolling her eyes at Ishamael because Ishamael is a true believer. And the point that I got from this, the subtext of this conversation is that the Dark One, he promised things for each and every Forsaken. So they just don't wake up one day and decide, okay, I'm joining the dark side for no reason. No, they are promised things. And in this case, Lanfear, as the story is telling us, and then the person that Lanfear wants most is the dragon. She wants the main guy because she's Lanfear. She has to have the main guy. And what I found very, very fascinating is that Moiraine, she notes that they don't know that much, but they know enough about Lanfear to say for sure that she loved the dragon. So it's one thing that she does is that she loves the dragon. And Rand, because he's too young, I know that I'm going back and forth between the conversation with Lanfear and Ishamael, and the conversation between Moiraine and Rand, because I think they are together. They are very, like, they are mirroring each other. And Moiraine thinks that they can tempt, or they can at least investigate Lanfear through Rand. Hence why she's honeypotting Rand. And Ishamael fears that Lanfear will betray him because of her love for the dragon. So in these two conversations, you already have the glimpse in some of the desires of the Forsaken. And I'm very curious about when are we going to get the other ones, if we are going to delve into the desires too, because we already know Leander's motivation for joining the dark side. Now we know that Ishamael is the only true believer, according to him, and Lanfear is just there for her boy.
Yeah. As are all dark friends, seemingly. Everybody's, what was it? Even the girl that tried to chase down Rand and Matt in the village in season 1 had her reasons for being a dark friend. Leandrin had her reasons for being a dark friend. Everybody's got their reasons, and most of the time they're personal. Ishamael says he's above all of that. I'm not sure I believe that. I think they all just want to be at that number 1 spot, because that means if the world ends, if they stop the wheel the way that they say that they want to stop the wheel, there's no guarantee that without the Dark One's protection that you're going to make it through that. So,
yeah,
I think that's the overall goal of Ishamael right there, and the power, because he clearly is calculated as he is, and as much as he plays the game, he's playing a game of houses himself with Turok, with Suroth, with all of these people, and it's all in service of looking out for number 1. Bubba, any other thoughts on this subject?
You guys said it all, but the fact that the villains, Lanfear and Ishamael, are honest and like, oh, you're going to betray me? Yeah, you're going to betray me. I love it. I love honesty. I love saying what we all know is going to happen. Bring it on. Once again, great stuff in this episode. Wonderful.
Well, by my calculations, there's only 1 spot left on the wheel, and that is the double F, Frightening Falme, which we talked a little bit about in the beginning, where everybody rejected my perfectly sound argument that Turok is a wonderful leader. But let's talk about this, because there's some really horrific stuff that's going on here. Leandrin, in the ways, has shielded Nynaeve and restrained her. Not that, and I love the little joke that it's not like I really needed to shield you, because what could you do? But you don't want to make Nynaeve angry. We know that. So, or scared. So, good idea to shield her so that she can't use the 1 power. The other girls are just completely knocked out. You get Leandrin's reasonings, and then you get into the transfer. And it seems that the way it's explained is that Elaine really is just kind of a sidebar, and it doesn't really matter what happens to her. But Ishamael wants Egwene and Nynaeve, and I'm not help me out here. Was there any reason given as to why, or is it just that? Okay, what was the reason?
Well, according to the series lore, they are all Verin, the 5.
Right.
No? And the plan that Ishamael has, because it all hinges on the Dragon Reborn choosing the darkness, choosing the dark side, choosing the Dark One, because that's what the fight is about. No? The Dragon Reborn can either save the world or destroy the world. And they want to have their boy back. So the plan of Ishamael is to get all Rand's friends, turn them to the dark side, or at least destroy them, so that Rand would have a nervous breakdown and get crazy, and that's what the plan is.
Yeah, because Lanfear did say it will break him if he sees all of his friends in peril. Okay, that makes sense, because
well, we'll probably just need to
That
talk
makes
about
a
this in the
ton of
book
sense,
section.
actually. That makes a ton of sense. We were wondering what the deal was, and that's what it is. That's why he's sending Matt to Kyrene.
Yeah,
and
but
that's why
that's the thing that's hanging me up. I don't understand if you're going to have everybody else at Falme. He thinks Perrin's headed to Falme as well. If you're going to
I
send
think
everybody else to Falme, why doesn't he tell Min, hey, take Matt to Falme?
I think the problem is that he thinks he has Perrin. He doesn't know yet that Perrin is
Right.
not there. And he thinks he has Nynaeve. He doesn't know Nynaeve is not there also, right?
Right.
But Kyrene, I have figured out why he was sending the Matt to Kyrene, but then I missed the point. Because Lanfear was in Kyrene, so he knows that Rand was there. Right?
Right.
So that makes sense.
Okay, but what's he going to do to Matt in Kyrene that will break Rand?
Didn't Min had a vision of Matt stabbing Rand at some point?
He wants, but I was under the understanding that Ishamael wants Rand alive in that dark social. He said maybe he can be turned.
He wants Rand alive, but a stab may not be what takes him down. Right?
Yeah.
Or not?
That's true.
So
that's true. If it's that blade, I don't see how he survives. Although, never mind. Loel survived. It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, it's all good.
Everybody survives. It's all fine. It's just the wheel keeps on spinning.
There you go. There it is. What did you think of Egwene? Well, first of all, Bubba, let me ask you this. Did you appreciate the one power fight that was had there at the Gateway Gate when Egwene stood up to them? Unfortunately, it didn't work out for her, but she did at least try to stand up to him.
No, this is shocking stuff. This is incredible stuff. I'm going to go back a bit. When Liandrin comes out of the ways, is that what they're called again? The ways?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, she brought horses through the ways? That's cruel to the horses. You're beating up Moiraine for what she did to the horses. This seems just as bad as if you ask me, Matt. But then also, awesome. I love these two butting heads. I love Lorraine and Surith butting heads. And then, we need our heroes to be challenged. They are challenged immediately. Liandrin, just because she's a petty Aes Sedai, she releases them all. So then Surith's forces have to chase after him. Wonderful. Egwene, I thought she was the main character in season 1 for most of it. Here in season 2, it feels like she's a supporting player, but boy, this is going to be horrific. What's going to happen to her over the next several weeks? And once again, that's something as a viewer, next episode, it's perfect.
One of the things that I absolutely loved is because this is slightly different from the books, and I think it's okay to say here because it's kind of basically taking place, is that once Nynaeve and Elaine are separated from Egwene, Elaine is the one that's kind of falling apart, over what's happening. And Nynaeve's the one who says, we got to buck up. We got to get different clothes. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to get the Falme up. Whereas they changed it a little bit to where Nynaeve is naturally, this is her friend. This is the person that she's cared about. She's a little more upset about all of it. Elaine barely knows Egwene. She likes her, but she barely knows her. And Elaine has been brought up in courts and everything where she's gotten probably at least a little bit more of a book education than Nynaeve has had. And so she's thinking this thing through. No, we need to change clothes. No, we need to do this. She's the one that says that kind of stuff. And I did love, and I'll definitely talk to Priscilla about this in the book section, but I did love seeing a yellow Aja in Falme, because that's a big deal for me. And we'll see how that pans out in the next few episodes. But a good thing, because poor Elaine and Nynaeve have had their head hits against walls so many times in the last couple of weeks. They need a healing Aja to help them out, get them over those concussions, for crying out loud. Priscilla, what were your impressions of the collaring of Egwene?
Wow, horrific.
Yeah.
That whole civilization is a big no-no. Anyway,
Yeah.
Everything changing. I see no redeeming qualities. I'm sorry.
Let's go back to something Turok said, and again, this is a clear demonstration of the ends don't justify the means kind of thing because of what these people are doing to magic wielders. But his statement, his mission statement, so to speak, his corporate mission statement is, we must unite all people to fight against the shadow. That's what he said at the beginning of the episode.
No, it confused me, Matt. Where I don't want you to spoil me, but why would he say that?
Well, you tell me, because we haven't gotten any other information, but I took it as to mean we're going to conquer the world so that the world can take on the Dark One.
I thought it might be something like that. Like, this idiot doesn't know who he's working with. Once again, just kill him. Save us all a bit of grief and get rid of this bum.
Like I said, it's a noble intention, but conquering the world, putting magic wielders in slavery, that ends, or the end of defeating the Dark One is not justified by those means whatsoever, at least not to me. And I was absolutely horrified by the Egwene stuff. The way, and for the first time, because you haven't really seen them in the shots before, but for the first time, we really got the demonstration of them being tied by a leash, like a dog. You saw that one power stream, and it almost seems physical. Now, in the books, they are physical, so I don't know if they're going to go all that route either. But you see that single little stream coming out of the collar and then going to the Sudam. That's what the masters are called, the Sudam's wrist. There is just so much that is disturbing about this culture. I already said how much I hate them at the time. But if they are going to fight the shadow, can you completely hate them? Even if the ends don't justify the means? You can.
I can. Yes, okay. I can.
Absolutely. Priscilla says also, I had to ask the question. I would answer the question the same way. So that's what I just had to ask the question.
Well, it's just a matter of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They are not your friends. It's just that you have a common enemy.
It's true. But maybe if they're working on your enemy, then they're not working on you. Except that Turok already has it worked out that he's going to just be in charge of everybody, or his empress. Yeah. His empress is going to be in charge of everybody, and they're all going to fight together. Yeah, that's going to work out.
Dedicated to Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time book series.
This is something you should say behind her back, where Loyal is. You know, you look like crap.
And the Wheel of Time television series on Amazon Prime.
You cannot see her face. How she can look
That's
like crap?
Probably better. Well, it looks like she's got horns coming out of her head. She's got these weird finger extensions that are creepy. I'm sorry. You know, I judge this book by its cover, and I'm burning this book. I'm taking it to Florida so it gets tossed out.
You're listening to Bustin' Blockbuster's Wheel of Time podcast.
Look, I didn't choose this path for myself any more than you did, but I will follow it because I must.
It is time to play a special game this week. Last week, Bubba challenged Matt to name all of his favorite characters in terms of whether they were in his top 10, whether they were in his top 5. Now, I'd almost ask Matt not to participate at all. I have my own top 5 list, which I might participate with, but we're going to all name our top 5 characters in the TV show. Matt, I want you to remember, you cannot use your book influence on this.
What do you mean? I already know these characters. I mean, when I see them in the book, whether they're realized good or not, then it matters to me.
Yeah, you got to get around that. You got to figure this out. You got to think.
Well, man, I'm going to need a minute.
Well, then we'll start with, let's start with Bubba, because Bubba's the one that kept insisting that we come up with top 5s. Bubba, what are your top 5 TV characters that you've encountered so far. And if Priscilla, if you have one that's the same on the list, but it's not in the same position, go ahead and tell us which position you had that character in. Bubba, do you have any outside looking ins? Do you have any number 6s, 7s that you want?
No, I stuck to the rules. Top five. I'm going to start at the bottom. And as the numbers get smaller, the characters get better. All right. So my number 5 is just the Fades. They are the creepiest, scariest, most perfect monster for this world. They need to be in the show more. When you see them, you know it is on. It is not playtime. It is serious. And so it sounds silly to say a pretty much a creature design is my top 5 character, but I'm giving it to the Fades at number 5.
Wait a minute. Don't go. You don't go. I got to tell you that my number 3 is Fades. Actually, one specific Fade, my GM and quarterback, Mydril Fade. He is my third favorite character. I don't know why you ranked him so low, but unfortunately, he will remain on my list no matter how many new characters we get, because he's the one that got pinned to the door last week or 2 weeks ago.
He did a good job. He did it. He really held his pose when he was pinned to the door there. Okay, my number 4 character, and this may be a bit shocking. It's just they put her through so much, and so she's kind of had great moments and moments that maybe aren't as engaging. My number 4 character is going to be Moiraine. Moiraine, Aes Sedai without power, my number 4 character in the show.
Wow, that's my number 1.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Why is she your number 1? Why is she your number 1?
Because she's
It's my number 1 too.
Oh, wow.
It's my number 1 too.
Yeah, not on my list. No.
Good work, Coach D. Yeah. All right, I'm going to go to my 2 and 3, and they're tied. This is ridiculous that they're tied, considering one has not been in the show as much, but they have almost all their scenes together in season 2. I think they make a good pair. I'm going Egwene and Elaine as my 2 and 3 tied. You can put whichever one you want first. I guess Egwene goes 2 and Elaine goes 3. Really good, really fun pair. I want to see where they go, and when they're on screen, I pay attention.
Priscilla, do you have either of those on your list?
I have to think.
You have to think?
I have to think.
I don't know how to do that. So I'll just say, Matt, what
I have Elaine and Egwene both on my list as well. Elaine was number 5. Egwene was number 4.
I get confused about that. Numbers are not my specialty, so I have to think.
You didn't include a Fade in your top 5. What are you doing?
No, I never paid attention to the Fades. They don't. They
do kind of disappear on you in the
much.
shadows. If you're not paying attention, they could do kind of melt away. Bubba, you're on your number 1 already, aren't you?
Number 1 with a bullet. And
let me guess, Lan.
Lanfear.
He's a number 1 on certain list, if you know what I mean. But my favorite character, and this will seem ridiculous, because they have not been on the show very long, because I'm not including them in their alter ego Celine. I am saying after 2 episodes, Lanfear is my number 1. When she's on screen, it's scary, it's tense. Once again, you are glued to this show. Lanfear, my number 1.
Lanfear made my number 3. She made my number 3. And I will mention, as an outside looking in, with only 1 appearance so far, Aviendha has made it to number 6 already. Just absolutely love that character. I've mentioned Elaine, Egwene, Lanfear, and Moiraine is my number 1. My number 2 is Nynaeve. I absolutely love Nynaeve as well, especially after the 3rd episode. My heart just went out to her when you think about how much pain she endured during that. And I see a whole different strength in her. So that's my list. Priscilla, where's your list need to be completed out at?
So number 5, and just because we haven't seen a lot of it, so number 5, Verin. Number 4, Nynaeve. Number 3, I have to say Rand. in this season he's more of a character than like he was before. Like, and when I say he's more like a character, he is more adult.
I can't
he's
believe
less.
that Rand made any list here. That's just ridiculous. I mean, I'm not a Rand hater like Matt is, but geez.
Number 2, Lanfear. Number 1, Moiraine.
All right. That's an excellent list. Coach, do you want to give the rest of your list?
Of course I do. Matt. Number 5 is me. I mean, I did great in season 1. I thought I teared up the 2 rivers pretty well. If it hadn't been for that Moiraine gal, throwing bricks at my head with the 1 power, I probably could have done a lot more damage. Number 4, Padan Fain. Oh, that guy's got swag. Oh, I love that guy's swag. It's so good. Such a good whistle. Love him. Already mentioned 3rd by quarterback and GM Midril Fade. My number 2 is Lanfear, of course. My number 2 is Lanfear. And my number 1, I have to qualify, is Ishamael. Of course, because he is our fearless leader that we've seen so far. Now, if we were doing books, I would have to, of course, use the Dark One, because the Dark One, of course, was my ultimate leader, and I fear what he might do to me if I didn't put him at number 1. However, since he hasn't appeared in the TV show, I thought he had appeared in the TV show at the end of last season, but apparently it wasn't him. So our team's owner has not yet appeared, but once he does, he will automatically go to number 1, and I guess I'll slip off the list.
Wow.
Those are our top 5's favorite characters of TV.
Just a little bit of feedback here. Actually, only one little bit of feedback here. Folks, we want you to reach out to us at Bust Blockbuster on the social media, at the word double the letters PHQ on the social medias. You can send emails to mattsaudioblog@gmail.com, mattsaudioblog@gmail.com. You can also leave comments on our YouTube, as Patrick KH4BX did. I believe that Patrick is also on X or whatever that social media is called now, where he actually recommended our podcast to the What series account, which is a highly regarded account. So thank you very much if that was you, Patrick. If not, really appreciate you stopping by and listening to our last video, who said, I listened via the podcast, but commenting and liking here for the algorithm. Thank you. We like people like you. I'm a book reader who enjoys listening to your perspectives, and the musical analysis is especially illuminating. Thanks. Thank you, Patrick. We really appreciate you stopping by. And I had responded to you, hoping that you might answer what you have thought of season 2 of Wheel of Time so far. Get back to us. Let us know what you're feeling, especially after this episode. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from all of you. Be sure that when you're at Double P Media's YouTube, that's youtube.com/@ the word double the letter P, the word media, that you leave comments, that you hit that like button, that you hit those notification bells, as John McGonagall makes me say, yo. Do that. Hit that notification bell. That way you'll know that all the great videos that are coming out on that channel. Bubba is doing a seriously good job covering Only Murders in the Building. Bubba is tolerating my half-ass good job covering Ahsoka. And we're having a lot of fun with the Star Wars podcast, Parsec Passion, if you're looking for it on a podcast feed, Patrick. And that is all of the shows that we're covering right now. You finished up After Party, right, Bubba? It's done?
R.I.P. After Party.
Once again, contact us via those social medias, at Double PHQ, at Bust Blockbuster. You can also talk to Priscilla via her YouTube channel, at Priscilla TV1 on YouTube. That's where you can find her channel. And she does lots of great videos in Portuguese. For I guess it's primarily a Brazilian audience. Or do you have a lot of Portugal downloads too?
No, just my friends from Portugal. The friends I have in Portugal, they watch. No, it's mostly Brazil. The channel was growing at the time of Game of Thrones, but then I deleted my account. And actually, Wheel of Time was something that made me come back to do videos and other things. So I guess we can blame Wheel of Time for my comeback to YouTube, like But and after I also watched a lot of Netflix series, but I have to be honest. Sometimes I give up in the middle of Netflix. I don't know what's going on there.
You can reach me on Twitter, as I call it, FITTENTRIM @FitandTrim on Twitter.
We'll be back with a book podcast in just a little bit.
Send emails to mattsaudioblog@gmail.com and find all back episodes and other information at mattsaudioblog.com. Part of Double P Media, doublepmedia.com.